Welcome back to the LEC studio for Origen versus Vitality, a game that promises much and hopefully will deliver on those promises.
I hope it does too.
Thank you for that great analysis, Endo. We are just moments away from pick and ban here. Origen sitting at 5-4 at the midway point of the split. Vitality, after winning 2 games last week, lost yesterday and now at 3-6. Really want to be fighting a couple of places higher than they currently stand.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams obviously had a rocky start to the split. Of course, the concern for Vitality goes back further than just this summer, whereas Origen, it was, a very similar look to how they started in spring. They ended up finishing very high, and they did look very good in yesterday's games, but now as we hit the halfway point in the season, the turn must happen for both of these squads.
Got to turn things around, got to pump the gas, get yourself into 6th gear and try and accelerate towards the finishing line. It's only 4 weeks away. Week 9, just around the corner. After that, playoffs, after that, Athens, after that, Worlds. And right now, that's all that really matters to these players. Taking the win in the LEC, making their way to Worlds, and proving once again that Europe is the best region in the world.
Absolutely, and those events are going to sneak up on you quickly. Now, getting into the draft, seeing a whole lot of the same here. Origen banning away the Kiana themselves here, denying that one from Jizuke. Now, Jizuke is an interesting player to watch, always when we look at Champion Pool. In his last 2 games, he has played the Echo into the Azir matchup in the mid lane. Always wanted to pull out some more niche counter picks, although you have to imagine against a team like Origen, that's an ability to be exploited if I've ever seen one.
Oh, definitely. Origen will have a lot in their back pocket for it, especially Nukeduck with his champion Ocean will know a counter for that Echo. In fact, Origen saying we don't even want Azir in this game at all. They'll ban it away alongside the Lux and the Kiana, Irelia, and Yasuo taken away by Vitality, just waiting on their 3rd ban. It's Karma. And something we haven't really seen that much this week is Yuumi. She keeps sneaking through pick and ban, she keeps not getting picked, and it's just a little bit of a surprise to me, but Silas, someone we've seen every game today.
I believe it's because she's administratively disabled, Mr. Medic.
That makes sense.
Would that explain everything?
Obviously, I didn't read the email. I apologize, Yuumi disabled today. Makes a lot of sense as to why she's not in play. Silas, though, still ubiquitous in the LEC here on day 2 of week 5.
Yep, locking that one in early. Interesting because earlier in the split, Origen was all about the Sejuani priority and getting that for Cold. Then yesterday we saw them on the Jarvan. That's going to be the jungler of choice here for Mowgli, more than likely picking that up very early. And one of the big advantages of taking the Jarvan into the Sylas is because you have so much more early game threat. Sylas's early game clear, he can get a little bit low. He doesn't really want to start skirmishing until he can go back to base and pick up that first item, and then he becomes very, very good in these 2v2 duels. But I'm already loving the comfort picks we see on Vitality's side.
Yeah, get the Jarvan locked in for Cabochard or for Mowgli, depending where you want to go. At Mowgli, of course, the more likely option, and then lock in the Draven. This is an Attila comfort pick. Andre, of course, his coach when he was on Giants. So now he will know that Attila would go towards that Draven, and I'm sure Origen will have an answer waiting.
Yeah, and he's like, pick Ezreal, you're going to build Iceborne Gauntlet, you're going to be fine. You're just going to play safe in the lane phase, farm it up with Q, get some armor so those axes do not do too much damage to your face. But this is a pretty standard bottom lane pairing if they do lock in that Tahm Kench here for the side of Origen. Very safe 2 versus 2. They can just farm it up and have bigger impact later on in the match.
Yeah, super safe bot lane there for Origen. Ezreal, Tahm Kench. Basically nothing you can do against it, but Vitality will try and find an answer. At the moment, it's Fiddlesticks lock. Now that is a harass lane if I've ever seen one.
This is literally throwing me back to last summer. You know, when Vitality started off that split so dominantly, it was so much because of these, crazy picks down in the bottom lane. I think we saw them play the Lux Pike at one point, but the Draven Fiddlesticks we also saw from them during that time. It's so much about pushing the lane, having kill threat, and that point-and-click CC from the Fiddlestick Sphere can be absolutely deadly.
There's the fear, and then there's the Dark Wind Silence as well. It will make very difficult for Cold or for Patrick or Mithy in that bottom lane to escape. If they're hit with a silence, you get rid of the Devour as well. Vitality going aggro in the bottom lane. We'll see if it works for them. And Now they're going to get rid of the Nico on this second phase of bans.
Yeah, I think I'd actually really like to see Vitality pick up a roaming mid lane champion for Jizuke. Not only because I think he's very at home on that style of pick, but also when you see that bottom lane as well as the Jarvan, I'm thinking level 6 comes around, you come down bottom lane and you dive that turret. If you can get a mid lane champion for Jizuke that wins a lot of matchups, maybe save that counter pick for him so he can get prio, and then move 4 members down there, throw in a TP as well. There's a lot of ability to play through and around this lane.
This is the first time we've seen that Fiddlesticks in the LEC. It has been played in the LPL 6 times so far this split, so it is a pick elsewhere in the world, maybe one that just hasn't migrated across the great landmass between here and China. Zed taken away, Cannon removed as well. No ninjas in this game, save both Vitality and Origen. We'll see what Origen decide for their final ban of this phase.
Probably just removing another safe blind pickable top laner if we assume that Jizuke is getting his pick last on Vitality, who so often choose red side for the ability to last pick and get that counter. Then the Jace makes a whole lot of sense here from Origen to take that option away from Cabo.
At the moment, the Corki hover kind of implies to me, if they lock it in, that it will be a top lane counter pick for Cabo. We'll see if that is the case. There we go. Corki locked in. Jizuke, it is a roaming champion. You can roam at level 6, get down towards that bottom lane and do a lot. I know you hang your head a little bit in boredom there, Ender, but hopefully we'll see something a little bit more electrifying here from Origen.
Yeah, unfortunately they banned the cannons, none of that, but the Rise perhaps could be a good option here for either Nuke Duck or Alphari, a champion that ever since he got that sort of mini rework, reshape, we haven't seen a whole lot of here in the LEC, but that has been a champion that Nuke Duck has excelled on in the past for sure. Also has the roaming capabilities to match the likes of the Corki. And now I think if you are Origen, you want a top laner with Engage. That's the only real thing you're lacking at the moment, aside from Sylas picking up a Jarvan ultimate to make that happen. Don't think Aatrox would fully give them that Engage, but it would give them more laning threat if they wanted to go for that or the Gnar.
Definitely would. No, a little bit of Engage there, of course, as you jump on towards the backline. Alphari very competent on it, so he will lock that in. And with the Rise locked in for Nuke Duck in the mid lane, we'll see what Vitality wants as this final counter pick. They so often pick red. I believe they've only won 1 game on red side this split, though, so it doesn't always work out for them.
They also they just have not won a lot of games.
That's true.
Medic, so I'm not gonna call it side selection being the problem here for these guys. Now they do have the option to take into the top lane. We haven't seen many good Mordekaisers, Medic.
Do you do this into Gnar as well, though? That's a brave pick because Gnar, ranged harass, able to jump away from the Death's Grasp, not the easiest person to catch out.
So I would say this matchup into Gnar is probably better than playing into the Nico or the Vayne in the top lane, because Gnar actually has relatively low range, especially earlier on in the game, so you're not going to get harassed as badly. Now, one thing I always call for when you play against these ranged matchups is instead of running the Conqueror on the Mordekaiser, which is very good against melee champions, try to opt into the Phase Rush instead, because Gnar can kite you so brutally. Rise can do the same thing if you are isolated in the side lane, so I'd really like to see Cabochard change up those rune options from the standard that we've seen so far in the ever-long failures of LEC Mordekaiser players.
Yeah, LEC Mord has not had the most impact. You saw it in the LCK this morning on the losing side as well. So across the world, not always the most impactful of picks. We'll see if Vitality can turn around their fortunes and claim a win versus the 4th place Origen, or whether Origen will continue rattling through the gears, continue accelerating in towards playoffs here with a relatively strong composition for themselves.
And I think if we focus in on Vitality here, all eyes are going to be on the bottom lane duo of Attila and Jackal. After a rough start to the split, they have gotten significantly better, and now, on such a unique pairing, the Draven plus Fiddlesticks, they have all the options to try and run away with the lane and try to snowball that into even more.
So will we see Mowgli going down towards the bottom lane, helping out his laner, setting up his team for success? That's the question as we get ready to go on to Summoner's Rift. Battle lines are drawn, both teams hungry for a win in this war of Summoner's Rift. And Vitality already on the aggressive, stepping forward behind enemy lines here, landing that Dark Wind. You can see how much work it does.
Now, while Vitality group up with so many members down here, look up at the top side of the map. Mithy is already up there with Alfari just scouting out. And interestingly enough, because both of these champions have their Q, which gives a pretty substantial slow at level 1, if they were to actually catch Cabochard, I genuinely think they could have gotten a flash off of him.
Definitely could. The ward placed as well by Vitality on the Origen red buff. We'll see if Cold decides that's enough to stop him from starting on that side of the map, and he's looks like he's pathing up towards his wolves right now. Could just go straight to blue as well. And this is where my color caster would usually break in with a little bit of analysis as to the jungle pathing, but I will do that. Mithy gonna clear this out with his Oracle's Lens. Cold starting up towards blue side, can just get a little bit of assistance from Alfari and doesn't set him back too much. Yep,
he's gonna sacrifice a little bit of top lane pressure for that gank. But actually, Mithy and Patrick doing a fake leash down on towards that red buff, both using a spell, so their mana bars will go down, which will indicate to Vitality that there was a leash happening. Of course, Alfari walking into lane with some rage built up will also mean that it could be a top lane start. So at the end of everything, Vitality have no idea where Cold started up on the map.
And that's exactly what Origen wanted from the situation. Mowgli started down towards bottom side. There wasn't a leash from Cabochard, so the expectation for Origen is that he started blue and now has gone up towards his red buff. Jizuke with a level advantage here over Nukeduck, but has already popped through a couple of his corrupting potion stacks.
So Mowgli's early pathing here was straight blue buff to red buff. He also has the sweeper, so he wanted to get inside of the jungle. And I think his call was that this was going to be a bot side start from Cold, expecting it was a red buff into perhaps the Krug camp for that faster level 3 now. So he comes into the top side jungle, expecting to steal away to blue to try to deny that from the Sylas, and is going to be left wanting.
He is. In the past, we've seen Vitality focus a lot up towards that top side early on. Would have been good for Mowgli if he could get an early kill, get an early flash, but he is on the top side of the map here, and maybe we'll look towards ganking Cabochard's lane. Instead says, nah, I'm just going to go and farm up my jungle.
I'm curious to see where he goes here from now, because very likely ends up pathing down towards the bottom side of the map because he must protect this pushing duo in Jacktroll and Attila. Jacktroll also running the
Aftershock.
Demolish.
Oh, and
as well as the Aftershock. He's in that tree for the Aftershock, but the Demolish to get the extra damage there on that turret. He took a little bit of a trade so that he could try to hit this tower, because this duo is all about pushing, and if you can't kill them, what's the next best thing? Access turret plates, and the Demolish is going to be able to do that for him.
The Draven Fiddle plays a very similar role to the Caitlyn Lux that we saw in the last game. Push up the wave, harass your enemies, and they're too low to be able to defend. Cold here will be spotted as on a ward, or at least his ward was spotted on a ward as he came across. Mithy's then like, oh, I can sweep this one out, but perhaps could have done that a bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was ever going to be a gank here from Cold. The big weakness of Sylas jungle is that his first clear, he does get lower than other champions. The likes of a Jarvan, who's sitting at full HP. What do you know? He's one of our most popular junglers here in the LEC.
Does mean that Mowgli will get double Scuttle Crabs off this. We wondered a little bit about his pathing. He went down towards bottom side after taking his Razor Beaks, secured the Scuttle Crab, and now because he knew Cold was bottom side, he can immediately go back up top.
Now, one of the nice things here for Cold, as he's just going to come here and protect Nukeduck for a little while, is that he actually, when he goes back into his topside jungle, in about a minute, when that Gromp camp does respawn, it's going to give him the full EXP from that camp, which you don't usually get.
Oh, Mowgli unable to land the EQ, but Nukeduck's forced away. Cold now on the flank position. Nukeduck's very low. Can you take this trade? He's got a refillable potion, but he's already popped it. Doesn't get any sustain.
Yeah, I mean, Cold down a level as well without any help going to be coming in from Nukeduck, so he can't end up forcing that one. And all of his camps are down at the moment, so all he can really do is run around and get some control. Maybe look for a repeat gank once the TP comes in from Nukeduck, but Jizuke should be able to back out of this.
Yep, easy enough. Can just Valkyrie away. Had just enough mana to do it. He will escape. We'll be looking not to burn his teleport coming back into this lane, so he could go down towards bottom lane with a TP play, but it's very difficult when the lane is pushed up by Nukeduck, which is what he'll be trying to do.
Watching Cold's pathing here, spending a lot of time around that mid lane. Wolf camp is respawning, so he does need to get back up there. Actually has the timer on the Raptor camp, it does seem, so a little bit inefficient, spending time to try and look for that gank in the mid lane. Will sacrifice him clearing out that Wolf camp before this, and now he has the decision. Does he go down for Krugs for the big old EXP, or does he go back topside to pick up those Wolves? Topside will be the answer, and that will also give him the ability to cover for pushing Alfari in the topside.
Cabochard, after picking up his Seeker's Arm Guard, teleports back into the lane. Alfari will get a base off of his own, but you can see Jacktroll and Mowgli actually teaming up in the jungle right now. Just going to try and set up for a good gank here from Mowgli. There's no Oracle's Lens yet on Jack Troll. We see one on the side of Mithy to try and clear out some of that vision. Mowgli isn't going to go bot. He decides instead he just wants to continue to clear out his jungle. And both junglers seem pretty happy just working their way towards that level 6 mark right now.
Now, pointing at the item difference coming off that TP from Attila, he now has the BF sword, so this lane is going to be looking real good for him. Still, though, not really building up any sort of CS lead over Patrick at the moment. Notice Nuktuk also placed a ward on towards Vitality's Raptor camp, so while Mowgli will be looking for a gank in the mid lane and perhaps some deeper vision, Cold can steal that away.
I love the symmetry of the junglers right now. You kind of see what we talk about when we're looking at pushing lanes and advantage in lanes, because Cold knows he can play top side of the map with Nuktuk pushing in and with Alfari being in good spot, and Mowgli knows he can play bottom side of the map, so both of them willing to step forward towards those Razor Beaks, get some vision in, and then look for objectives.
And right now, because of the strength of the Vitality duo, even though OG see Vitality starting up this dragon, Cold's going to make the call. He says, no, I got the counter jungle off. I'm also going to get a little bit more selfish experience for myself with that Scuttle Crab spawning on the top side, and they will not be able to contest this objective. That's a smart call there from OG, and also Vitality just knowing that they have the pressure in the area to pick that one up.
Control play so far from both these teams, neither being too agitated, wanting to go for those big plays. But now with a Mountain Drake, you have even more pressure in the bottom lane from Attila and Jack Troll towards those plates, if they can get the lane towards the tower.
Right, and speaking of that pressure, because of that move all the way there from Vitality, they got a lot of deep wards inside the Origin jungle. We mentioned level 6 comes through for Mowgli. There is the ability to gank around this side of the lane. There's no TPs on either of these two top laners, so if Mowgli can move mid to help Jizuke get control over this lane, there is a very real possibility that they try to make that 4-man sweep down towards the bottom lane.
Remember, Jizuke still has that teleport advantage as well if he wants to join the fight. I do want to bring your attention towards the bottom lane once again. As a support, there are a few things I think about when I'm laning like this, and having that control ward in the second bush is actually incredibly important for Vitality. If they can continue to deny any vision for Patrick and Mithy in that bush, it means the Mystic shots are less likely to hit, and it makes it so much easier for Jack Troll to harass.
It also just means that Origin's bot lane has to give a lot more respect because there could be a Jarvan in that lane. But right now, Mowgli is on the top side of the map. Very unlikely they can make a play here. The Gnar is too slippery, and even then, I don't think you could ever get a kill. If you go for this gank as Mowgli, the best you can get is a flash. I think his ultimate is better spent in other lanes right now.
That makes sense. I think Alfari running out of the Mega Gnar just in time for that may have meant that they get the flash even without the ultimate, but I agree with you that a kill was very much not on the cards for them. Origen grouping up mid here, Mithy and Cold. Something we see so commonly in Europe is the jungler and the support teaming up to clear out some of this vision. That's what they're doing. True Shot Barrage will not connect onto Jizuke, who's going to back away. And at the 8.5-minute marks, Honor's very much even in this game. A little bit of a lead for Origen. They have a Kleptomancy Ezreal, so you kind of expect it. But across the board, CS pretty much in the same ballpark. Alfari only with a slight advantage top.
So I really like this move now from Mithy. Coming off that reset, walk down mid lane to put down a control ward and try to sweep this river, clear vision. Now, he doesn't ultimately end up staying to clear out the control ward in that river bush down bottom lane, because Nuktuk, instead of using his pressure to shift down with him and help him secure that, went for a reset himself. Now he's actually using his ultimate to try and gap close back towards mid lane. That's the Realm Orb on the rise, so he won't have that if there is to be a play down bottom.
Mowgli waiting around the tri-bush, not going to go in. They're just looking for this first plate Vitality. Really, you want the Bloodthirst to complete on Attila, but now Mowgli stepping forward a little bit further. Package is available for Jizuke, and the plate will fall.
Now, Jizuke does have TP. Nuktuk is roaming down here, though, so very unlikely a fight does unfold. Instead, Vitality just using the pressure of Mowgli to get a lot of damage on this tower.
2 plates go down just off that push, and Origen really can't react too much to it. Manamune stacking up for Patrick now, but hasn't got the Iceborne Gauntlets slow as of yet, so won't be able to get any chase off down towards this bottom side. Cole just comes for a drive-by as he realizes Mowgli isn't in the bush and there's no real chance of a counter gank. A brief pause as the game settles into its kind of resting state. It's Vitality who have paused, so we'll find out exactly what's going on there in just a moment's time.
Yeah, definitely be checking that one out. Now's a good time, actually, as we're getting close to the 10-minute mark to take stock of what's actually, happening in this game. Yes, there's been no kills. The gold is dead even. So which team feels more comfortable given this game state? And I think that Ultimately, I favor the side of OG a little bit more here. I think that when we come to the team fight phase, I'm going to put a lot more trust in their top and jungle champions to have more of an impact than the side of Vitality. I think, Gnar and the Sylas, that ability to have, a strong frontline that also deals a lot of damage is going to be very important. Whereas I think that the Mordekaiser in particular, as we get into much later game team fights, the ability to isolate one target isn't as important because that target's probably just going to kill you and then re-enter the fight.
It's definitely going to be difficult in the later portion of the game. I do want to just update you guys. Jizuke paused for mouse issues. It was counted as it was deemed unauthorized by our League Ops team, and we should be getting back into the game momentarily, is the hope. With the game being so even, as you say, you kind of favor Origen going into the later portion of the game, but I want to see what this Mordekaiser is going to do. I want to see what happens when this Draven picks up his Bloodthirster, because Vitality, they're in a strong spot in terms of compositional strength. Their champions have power. I want to see how they utilize that.
Right, because we really put a magnifying glass on that bottom lane as well as the Jarvan to make some earlier plays. While we say OG, jungler more of a scaling pick, bottom lane is relatively safe, so they're just looking to get through this laning phase. Now Vitality, I've been calling for it for a little while. I would really like to see them make some sort of a move around this bottom lane, or even a three-man play up towards top side. I think that you need to be able to unlock this Jarvan now that you are level 6. And bot lane for me is the primary focus. I think that if you try to single out the Tahm Kench, that's almost always going to be a better move than trying to single out the Ezreal. It does look like we're getting back into game, and Mowgli is on the prowl, coming in through that bottom lane, going to use that control ward to great effect.
That's the power of vision control down towards this bottom side. Mowgli steps into the bush. They have no idea he's there. Mithy takes a chunk. The thick skin's still available for him. That will tick up and he'll heal up a bit. But Origen realize they could be in a sticky situation. Back away. Unwilling to step towards the forest of that bottom lane. Cold will secure a Scuttle Crab up towards the top side, but with this, you have to expect some plates going for Vitality. Mithy's going to teleport back down here, and Mowgli's already backed away.
Yeah, and because Mowgli doesn't stay in that bottom lane, they can't actually approach that tower to try to zone them off and get turret plates, because ultimately, you don't actually need to get kills if you are Vitality. You just want to keep hitting that tower, keep getting it lower and lower and lower. So now that investment for Mowgli doesn't give any payoff whatsoever. They're just going to end up recalling, and unless he can get into this pit in time, it's going to be a pretty free Herald take for Cold.
How far is it? Oh, I don't think that was intentional. I think he meant to go across there. Cold will be forced away anyway by the Scryer's Bloom.
Right now, Nukeduck is the first person to roam. There's also a Tahm Kench here. Both bottom lanes trying to get active, but Cold is very low.
Nukeduck and Alfari were there in time. Mithy came in with the Abyssal Voyage, but Mowgli's now on the wrong side of this Rift Herald wall. He'll just auto it once, give it a little love tap, and then should be able to EQ out in just a second. Instead, he's starting it back up as Attila and Jack Troll here.
Now, Patrick does have teleport. He's the only one not in the area, so he could join this fight. But similar to earlier, when Vitality just started up that dragon with their bottom lane near them, OG, make the call one more time. We're going to continue to seed objectives, weather out this early game, and have more faith in the scaling.
See, Attila had actually backed away, got himself another pickaxe alongside the BF sword and the Vampiric Scepter. So not a Bloodthirster rush for the AD carry this time, but with the Rift Herald secured by Vitality, they were within touching distance in terms of gold, and now they can look for some more plates perhaps in the mid lane. And Jizuke's going in towards Patrick on the bottom side, but the Arcane Shift will keep Patrick safe.
I think it's actually pretty hard to access tower plating in the mid lane, even as this 2 versus 2. The Rise should be able to clear away these waves pretty easily, so I would really like to see Vitality get out of this lane assignment. However, they did pick up that Rift Herald, so they're going to use it down mid.
Now Fari gets Cabochard back underneath the tower. Cabochard looking for the Realm of Death. Will lock out Fari in it. Death's Grasp flashed away. Vitality. Cabochard trying to flash away in the top lane as well. He's stuck in the bush. The teleport coming in. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, that Rift Herald's pushed in, but the wave has been cleared, and now Cabochard is in for a world of hurt. Patrick will be gifted the kill. First blood to Origen. And Vitality unable to answer on the other side of the map.
Really nice engage there from Alfari, using the ult to chuck him in underneath the tower. Even though he might have been able to get that kill solo, he calls in for the team, for the teleport. Very good guy, Alfari, to donate that first blood over to Patrick, who'd been suffering a little bit so far in the early laning phase.
He had Attila trying to get more plates in the mid lane, but Mithy, Patrick, and Cold are here to respond. Mid laners have now moved down towards bottom side as Jizuke will have a little bit of gold funneled into him as well. Mowgli started up the Rift Herald, the Dragon. It will be their second of the game. And after securing the Rift Tower, Vitality have had a very good grasp on early objectives this matchup.
Yeah, Vitality using their control to just pick those up very freely. Now topside, we see this one more time. Cavalshard just a little bit too right on the edge of that range, mind you. And Alphari's ult actually cleared the minion wave too. So Cavalshard picks up aggro immediately. That's what swings this matchup so drastically in the 1v1. And then even though Alphari could step forward here, he didn't have a ward to put in the bush, so he wasn't comfortable walking melee range into the Mordekaiser. So he says, Patrick, get on up here, you can have the kill and feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to step straight into the face of a Mordekaiser like that. He's got the Obliterate, he's probably got the Indestructible as well, that extra shielding that he can put out. And it's quite difficult to match straight into him in that 1v1, but it's still a good kill for Origen, as they are now about 300 gold ahead. Vitality's still clinging on to this game. Origen a little bit more in the driver's seat, but now that Attila's picked up his Infinity Edge, if he can get a couple of autos off, if he can crit a couple of times, will spell the demise of one of these Origen players.
I mean, we're about to approach the point where we just have to play the game, count the adoration stacks. Over 400 at the moment on towards Attila, so that is a lot of money that he could access if he were to get a kill. With the way the game has been going, there's like Vitality haven't seemed very keen to force fights, and Origen have never opted into anything.
And I think that's fine. You know, for Origen, they really don't want to fight as of yet. They'll be waiting for some of these bigger objectives, waiting until they get this Ezreal online. Could go Trinity Force still. I expect the Iceborne Gauntlet as a more likely option for Patrick, but still stacking up that Mana Mune. He's in a strong spot. You got Rod of Ages as well on Nukeduck, very much showing through their items their intent to play this game slow and to be patient throughout this matchup. Vitality, although they have got almost 1,000 gold worth of plates, are still actually just behind in terms of gold. As an extra kill for Origen and just a little bit of extra pressure through the Kleptomancy and a bit of extra CS across the board puts them in a good spot.
And I would like to say, while we have had a large focus on the junglers and maybe even the bottom laners in this game, the gold difference between mid laners is actually pretty substantial at the moment. 1,300 in favor of Jizuke. After that lane swap came through from Vitality, he benefited a ton, picking up, I believe, 3 or 4 turret plates on that bottom side of the map, really getting some money and items underneath his belt. That's effectively the entirety of the Hex Drinker for Jizuke in this matchup, which is a major game changer in terms of that 1 versus 1.
And Jizuke is someone that a lot of people have looked at recently and kind of questioned his form. You know, he's currently not the best in terms of how he's playing. If you look at that deaths per game statistic, he is the worst mid laner in our team in terms of how often he dies. And a lot of people have highlighted him and said, maybe he's a weak link in this Vitality squad. But this game so far, he's looking okay. He's scaling up on the Corki. And maybe this is the sort of game he needed to come back into the matchup. Because as much as you can try and make flashy plays on something like an Echo, having a game where you're a little bit more measured, a little bit more consistent, can sometimes help with that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more a team-reliant pick here with this Corki. Now, what we've seen a lot, if we actually look at lane allocation from these two teams, and in terms of Vitality, we say they have control, they have an earlier comp, they have a gold lead. What can they do next to try and extend that? Right now, Origen are often sending, Alphari top, Nukeduck bottom lane, 3 members towards this mid lane. And what that means is they're just maximizing their farm in all 3 of these separate lanes. Whereas Vitality, if they're ever going to make a move and make something happen, they need a numbers advantage. So coming out of their base, instead of splitting up, 1-3-1 or 1-2-1 with your jungler farming in your camps, you actually need to be able to move around with multiple members and find some sort of a matchup where you do have that 3v2 or a 4v3 to make something happen.
Haven't seen them have the impact they would have wanted. Jizuke actually backed away, then came back here. It's being joined by Jack Troll, who's ready with the Terrify to scare away anyone who dives a little bit too deep. And Patrick and Mithy happy with just a little bit more poke. But it feels very much like both these teams have kind of dug into their trenches. There's a no man's land between them, and no one's willing to step over the trench and try and take a fight.
And I think if we look at prerequisites to make something like that happen, one thing that Vitality have going for them is very strong deep vision inside the enemy jungle. So if you are able to catch someone on rotation, that can help you. But meanwhile, OG bot.
Yeah, Jizuke oversteps just a little bit. He's going to flash away, and the Valkyrie will get him to safety. He escapes. The rest of Vitality are on their way down. They can see a fight. They can taste it. They're hungry for blood. The boiling death connects on Patrick. Jack Troll still coming in.
Jack Troll's on the flank here, but can they just turn it onto him? He uses the stopwatch to buy time. There goes Mowgli.
Mowgli brings down the walls, and Patrick pays with his life. Attila cashes in. The Crow Storm comes in, and you're in for a world of hurt, Mithy. The chase is still on. Mowgli looking for the knockup, can't quite land. Mithy will escape, but Origen lose 2.
Finally, Vitality made the play happen. They countered that move there from Origen in the bottom lane, knowing they could chase because there was no tower for OG to fall back on. Now Jack Troll on the flank here. They want Mithy.
Mithy underneath the tower, feared up, doesn't really have a place to go, and Attila will be here, ready and waiting to accept his just desserts. Jisuke steals it away, almost dies for the good of it, but manages to escape. Vitality looking for the bot lane tower, true shot, barrage!
Oh!
Goodbye! See you later! Jisuke caught out as the death comes in from Patrick, slinging out spells from the side. The fear comes out, Mowgli jumping in, but it's all on Attila. Has to hit these axes, but he is just slated from the map. Realm Warp coming out, Nuke Duck flashes towards Mowgli. It's a double for Alfari. Mowgli has no escape. He's walking back towards his tower, but the Mystic Shot will land and Origen strike back.
Origen able to find the return fight right there. Nicely done from them. Vitality stayed so long to get that kill on towards Mithy that Alfari was able to push up, get that mid lane tower, and make that TP play happen down there. Nuke Duck coming in on the flank. We're going to go all the way back, though, after OG started this fight, because it was Vitality that struck first. You know, Jack Troll came in on this flank, uses the stopwatch not only to buy time, but also just to soak the most important CC abilities on the side of OG, and Attila cashes in for some big money. But here's where the greed starts to happen for Vitality. They wait such a long time that everyone's going to be respawning on the side of OG. Alfari can move down. Nuke Duck can also TP in towards this fight. And that's what the flank you're going to end up seeing. That's really how they were able to turn this all around on towards Vitality.
And getting kills over to Patrick and Alfari in the fight. So good for them.
Ouch.
There was no escape. There's nothing you can
maybe
do.
don't TP, maybe walk down.
Yeah, but he sees the TPs coming out. It's like, well, I can TP out of this
can't
one.
cancel it.
See you later, guys. Can't cancel it anymore. The rest of the fight continues. And really, if Attila was able to survive a little bit longer, get a couple more axes off, maybe he could have taken it. Mowgli tried to escape, but Origen were having none of that. Patrick with a great final Mystic Shot here to land the mark, and Vitality fell to pieces after that.
Yeah, so that was a super long replay, and during that time, Origen were able to go ahead and secure themselves the Ocean Drake. So they took control over the bottom half of the map, while the Cloud Drake, rather, not the Ocean. While Vitality went up top side and put a deep ward on top of the enemy blue buff, trying to sort of split the map just a little bit. Ultimately, OG still have control now that Patrick has 3 items. It's very easy to stand your ground with this Ezreal because of the range and the poke of this champion. So they could very easily just continue to get control now after those couple kills went his way.
And ultimately as well, Vitality do still have a gold lead, although that fight kind of fell apart afterwards. Jack Troll is in a flank position here, and Vitality are picking up 1,000 gold from the Adoration for Attila, are still in a strong spot. You've got an Infinity Edge and a Bloodthirster finished on your Draven.
Yeah, and it's super important to understand the power points for these two compositions, because on the side of Vitality, you said it, the double items on Attila, he's very, very strong, and if we pull up the gold, we'll actually get to see where the mismatches lie, because it's also in the mid lane for Vitality where they do have a big lead. So playing around those two marksmen is going to be very, very strong for them, while Alfari is the big breadwinner on the side of OG. He has had a wonderful time in this matchup up against Cabochard and picking up a couple of kills too. He is very, very strong, so that side lane matchup looks quite good for OG, and if they're able to incorporate him into these fights and to find a good Gnar ult, that's where they will have their best chance of fighting back.
That they will. Leandri's now finished on towards Cabochard. We often talk about the objective control that comes out from a Mordekaiser when you're fighting around things like a Baron. If you can lock up Cold in that realm of death, he stops the smite battle from happening, gives Vitality just that little bit more control around those big objectives, but it's not the easiest thing to do for Vitality, as Origen's so good at clearing out vision.
Right, and talking about who Mordekaiser ults is really interesting in a game like this, because yes, around a Baron you surely pick up the jungler, that's very smart, but also I think in this game in particular, if you can isolate Alfari, even though you lose that 1v1, it's very, very good, right? Because he's the frontliner, you're going to be able to access him pretty easily with that R, and if you can take out the tank frontline from OG, their team fight will fall to the wayside.
Mountain Drake here, they're going for it. Vitality still on the Baron, 8,000 HP on it. Looking for the TP from Nuke Duck, but he doesn't have it. Vitality have started this, they pulled off now though. And it resets, they decide to disengage. Cabochard has gone down towards bottom lane. Abyssal Voyage used mid from Origen just to reset towards this mid lane. Get the wave pushed up, get priority for themselves to go in and get vision.
Yep, and deny a whole lot of vision. I believe someone's got the zombie ward on the side of Vitality, because there's a whole lot baby trinkets inside of that river, so there's going to be a lot to pick up there and deny away from the side of Vitality. Now, OG have 5 members around this objective. Right now, they're going to use that pressure to allow Alfari to step up and knock out this turret. And they don't actually have the wards in their inventory to use those 5 members to walk into the enemy jungle. So they're going to have to reset before they try to make that scouting expedition a reality.
We actually saw Whirling Death used by Attila to try and stop Nukeduck from backing away. He managed to hit it. Nukeduck is now just going down towards the bottom lane. His teleport about a 5th away from coming back off its cooldown, so he can play towards the side lane. But Vitality say, okay, you're down there. We're going to start up the objective once again. TP coming in, Origen trying to react.
Yeah, I mean, Vitality are fully committed to starting this one up. It's down to about 5,000 here. OG are late to the party.
Sometimes you have to make decisive plays. They get the Baron straight away. Vitality find the catch. Jack Troll on the flank, looking for the storm. He comes in. A realm of death has been called down upon Origen as Cold goes golden. Locked up, the Kingslayer won't save you today. Heals up but gets taken out.
Such a decisive call there from Vitality. They tried it just a minute ago. It didn't work. They reset. They did it one more time. This time, Origen was not ready to react, and Vitality get away with a very easy Baron.
Great stuff from Vitality. We talked about it, that speed of decision making. You see they take it, and then the chase is on. Death's Grasp pulls Cold back, and he's actually locked up in the realm of death from the Mordecai, which means he can't escape.
Gold just can't run anywhere. He's like, okay, maybe I can try to buy some time, but ultimately had nowhere to go. Now Vitality with that buff that we already have seen, Jizuke is going to be so powerful in a side lane no matter who he does end up going against. This gives the Vitality squad a lot of ability to play around this map.
And it does. Side lane Corki so powerful. Vitality looking a lot better than they did yesterday, you have to say. I wondered coming into this week whether they'd be able to replicate their 2-0. They haven't done that, but if they continue to play like this, they're definitely stepping up towards being a playoffs contender once more. Origen, though, known for playing from behind, known for waiting out these games, and they have scaling on their side. Ezreal, Ryze, so good when they get 3 or 4 items under their belts.
So right now, Origen have control here, going on Mowgli.
The tongue lash landed. Cole looking for the chase. Mowgli has to flash away. That was brave from Patrick. He was the one to jump forward. He went behind enemy lines, but Origen were able to get him out alive.
Attila had gone back to base, so OG had the confidence to make that play happen. Now Attila was up top lane farming up, so he could funnel in for that money and get himself a rapid fire cannon. Now it's going to be even stronger on this champion. As the rest of Vitality are just looking to go all the way up mid lane and get control. They could even actually move up topside because there's a big minion wave that's going to be frozen right outside of the tower. And because OG's positioning is in mid lane, like hugging towards the bottom side of the map, it makes it very easy for this move to come through from Vitality.
Jack Troll looking for a positioned Crow Storm as well. Control ward comes out from Mythy. Attila up towards the top side now with this cannon wave going for the tower. Jizuke will continue to push in mid. He's the split push threat. Attila pulled back. The Alfari gets the Death's Grasp on him, and Cabashaw's going to jump forward with the Proto Belt. Jack Troll still in position.
Now Vitality don't have very good peeling tools for Attila, if he was to step up and hit this tower, so it's very hard to siege on these turrets, even with the Baron buff. Cabashar gets the hook, though, on towards Alfari. That's going to bait out the ultimate, all the while Jack Troll sitting on the side here, waiting for a potential Pro Storm.
Watch Patrick in some of these fights, because he is so courageous, jumping forward every single time. We'll see if he gets caught out because of it, but he arcane shifts straight into the enemy's face and then slings out those Mystic shots. We'll see how much work it can do. True Shot Barrage hits onto Jack Troll, half his HP, but Vitality will go towards the top lane, take that tower.
Yeah, Vitality are going to end up getting their reward right there. OG's stalling for a very long time, though. This doesn't seem like it's going to be a super, devastating Baron buff coming through from Vitality, especially if
Jizuke, he just space checks straight into them. He's going to try and get away, maybe take Cold with him if he can. He takes down one. After a face check, you got to do something, and he manages to make it a 1-for-1.
I actually thought he was running it down. That man is so confident. He gets the 1v1 or the 1v3 trade kill there on towards Cold.
I'll be honest, don't think it was deliberate. Don't think he knew he was there. He kind of just face checked straight into them,
but still, I gotta say, confidence to walk straight, head first into the fog of war when all of your team just recalled.
Have another look at it. So he actually sees Cold pathing across towards this. Maybe just thinks Cold's by himself, and then thinks, oh no, wait, there's a Ryze there as well. Locked up in the Rune Prison, but manages to get the damage down.
The best part, too, is that all of his initial burst went on towards Nukeduck. He's like, okay, this guy isn't dying very quickly. Let's change targets. And then Cold just immediately evaporated.
Much more like the Jizuke we saw last year. 2018, he was a terror in the mid lane. This year, Hasn't been as impactful, but I'm sure he wants to change some people's minds about that. Vitality playing down towards the bottom side as Mowgli jumps in. Cold only has the missile barrage, but look at that! Oh my god! The axe comes down, and now the Crow Storm is there for the chase. Ignite down, it's Cold, and he's dead. Mowgli in the front line, Jackshot goes golden. Attila there in it. Oh, but no! Lure them into the wall! Show them their place! Put them in their graves! Alfari lands the perfect ult for the fight, and now Cabochard has to flash away.
Alfari still on the chase here. He got the double kill, but he wants more. Cabochard must turn Jizuke on the flank, but it's not enough. OG are going to get the kill.
Oh no, Patrick might go down. Jizuke can do so much in this fight. The shutdown comes out. Patrick, one more auto, the package. Oh, Jizuke takes out one. He has to turn to Alfari next. Oh, he almost gets down Nuke Duck as well. Can Jizuke do this? It would be a hero play for Vitality.
Jizuke is playing out of his mind right now. Just 1 HP, 1 auto attack is enough to kill, but he still wants more. On the ward, Nuke Duck must run back in towards his base, but Jizuke is not going to let him out easy.
Nuke Duck could feel that one whisper by his ear. Now he's trying to get to the wolves, the TPUs, but the chase is on. Phosphorus Bomb doesn't quite find its mark, and Nuke Duck will escape. Jizuke is showing us why he was so renowned last year, stepping up once again.
What an unreal team fight. It starts off Vitality. They want to catch Origen in transition from bot lane towards top, and it starts off very good engage from them, but notice this teleport from Alfari. He absolutely destroys the Vitality squad, flashing in for a 3-man double stun into the wall. That means 3 quick kills for Vitality, but then it becomes the Jizuke show as Cabochard just buys time for him. That blast cone actually super troll, puts Nuke Duck on the wrong side of the fight here. It means that Jizuke can come in from the backside and try to get all that burst damage down onto Patrick. Oh, it's so close too. The dodge away, and then no one wants to stick around. Alfari, could have gotten extra auto attack in, but he thinks if I get hit one time, I die. That tentative play.
They're going to face check straight into this. The Realm Warp came out, they thought they could just chase Cabochard, but Vitality were waiting. Origen able to react. Cabochard has the ultimate, can put himself in the realm of death. Here comes Mowgli onto the backline. The Crow Storm comes in as well. Vitality have found their mark, but already, Patrick's down. Jizuke takes him, and now Vitality can just push forward with the fight. They're going to chase Origen down. There's no escape from the oncoming storm that's Vitality. Nuke Duck shut down. Alfari will go back to the fountain as well in just a second as Jizuke hits him with the final shot, and it's only Mithy left alive.
Yamato Cannon cheering his team on to get in there, he says to the squad as Vitality teleport in towards the base. They might not just settle for an inhibitor, they might look for the end.
It's taken them 5 weeks, Ender, but Vitality seem finally to be back on form. Origen have struggled, Vitality have pounced. They have found their kills, they have found their fight, and they are finding the Nexus now. Vitality take down Origen in week 5.
This win came off of decisive shot calling that we frankly have not seen in a long time from this squad. It gives Vitality fans a breath of fresh air that they were so willing to start up that Baron. It doesn't work the first time, but they go back knowing that the play would come to fruition in the end. And then Jizuke, boy is he back, man. This guy just popping off in those fights.
The Italian stallion stampeded over Origen in the lane. Corky, absolutely perfection to watch. Sublime. And I did wonder if he needed just a calm early game. He needed to get into mid-game with Vitality being even and then have this power behind him so he could make plays.
Yeah, I mean, you got a little nervous, too, about Vitality. You're like, wait, shouldn't you be making plays? But they didn't take many risks. They were willing to play and just put more money in just from the turret plates onto their 2 big carries, the Draven and the Corki. Absolutely got the items they needed. And then once they could turn on a dime and force fights with this Jarvan, they absolutely delivered.
First time we've seen the Mordekaiser really work as well, separating Cold from some fights, sustaining up as well in that 3v2 that we saw. Great stuff all around from Vitality. Origen, on the other hand, whew, 1 and 2 in the last 3 games, I believe, after losing to Rogue last week. And 5 and 5. First game into the second half of the split is fine, but they want to be kicking through those gears.
Oh, they absolutely do. And, we look at Origen in this game, right? And you're like, okay, they're seeding objectives. That's fine, though, for their competition. They felt comfortable doing that. but it was a lapse in vision around that Baron buff that caught them. This is usually a team that doesn't have those lapses, you know, in team play and understanding the map state at a given time, especially when it just happened to him. And Vitality were able to exploit that, show that vulnerability, and it just completely turned this entire game.
Definitely did. Good stuff all round, of course, from Vitality. You can see how much it means to Jizuki and the squad. We're going to have another look at that final fight, because what a fight it was. It felt like perhaps we'd seen Origen get back into it with an incredible Gnar ultimate, but this was the deciding moment of the game.
Well, it was very split at the start, so OG think they have the engage, but then it's this massive flank for Vitality, and they have Attila on the bottom side dealing damage, Jizuke, their other primary damage dealer, up on the top, and a brilliant scoop back there from Cabochard on both Alphari and Nukeduck to set up for all the kills that meant they could charge into the base.
I think the thing was, if you look back at it, and I'm sure some of you will with ProView especially, watch Attila and Jizuke in the fight, because Attila hits one axe onto Patrick, he takes half his health, and then Jizuke's Valkyrieing in from the side to get those final auto attacks off, because they know Patrick's going to try and jump away, but they have enough flank potential, enough chase potential to take down the enemy AD carry. And speaking of Jizuke, he is an option in your Kia Player of the Game vote at Lolly Sports on Twitter. It's Cabochard, Mowgli, and the Italian Stallion in the mid lane, Jizuke.
Very good choices, all of them. Honestly, I was very impressed by Vitality overall, you know, going for the unorthodox bottom lane. The Draven Fiddlesticks looked really good. And then, of course, Jizuke's Corki, those late game team fights, damn, was he good.
Yep, that one time that Draven didn't do it all, but he definitely did a lot for Vitality in this game. We're going to hand it over to an interview with Law and the bot lane, support, for Vitality.
Thanks, guys. Yaktrol, thank you for joining me and congrats on the win. You picked the first Fiddlestick in Europe and it's mostly been an LPL pick and even then it hasn't been that successful. So can you give me some specifics about this reasoning?
To be honest, I need to give credits to my cat. He does really similar sounds to the Fiddlesticks. So this is how I came up with an idea about Fiddlesticks.
Is it good in this meta, though? I mean, you won with it, obviously. But...
I mean, I have 100% win rate on it, so yeah, I guess.
Did you prep anything specific against Origen outside of the draft you had now?
I think they're gonna regret of not buying Draven, just like every team in LEC did against Attila. They opened it once, and as you could see, we just won with it. So I expect Draven to be banned for the rest of the split.
I have something on that. In the LCK, we see a lot of Kalista. We don't see much Draven here. I want to say that these picks are similar in a way, so why don't we see more of them in EU?
I think it's because Kalista is a bit of liability. If you don't snowball hard, this pick is not going to be so useful. And you have just much safer picks to pick than Kalista, and I don't think it's that high in priority because of that thing.
Okay, well, now more about you. You guys have been on and off lately. I hope you guys can pick it up in the second half of the split, but what can we expect from you guys?
You can expect many explosive drafts from our side. What need to improve is our screams, because our scream work is not so great lately, and I think that's the biggest reason why we're on and off.
All right, well, I wish you good luck on that. Thank you very much for the interview, and we're going to take a break, and coming back, it's going to be SK versus Fnatic. Don't go anywhere, guys.